They say peace is just the pause before somebody does something stupid. Well, let me tell you, mine ended the day I stepped onto my porch with coffee in hand and saw a damn backhoe clawing at the edge of my eastern tree line. You ever get that cold flush, that gut-deep certainty something's gone sideways, but you still hope you're wrong? That was me, standing there in my socks, praying maybe the county had messed up drainage markers. But, see, I own all 15 acres on this side of the ridge, every inch spelled out in legalese. No HOA, no nonsense. Just me, my land, and a whole file cabinet. Proving it. So I walk over to see what's up. Figured maybe, just maybe, it was a simple mistake. Instead, I find orange spray paint, a trench, and an old oak's roots torn up like yesterday's trash. There's a crew, one guy built like a fridge with a drywall beard, telling me to talk to the boss. And that's when I spot her. Black Range Rover, fresh manicure, latte in hand, lips pursed so tight she looked like she'd swallowed a lemon. "Ah, you must be Clay," she goes, using my name like she'd found it on a clearance rack. "Karen Marlowe. She's just bought the lot next door and wants to build a vacation cottage." Of course she does. "Lady, your vacation cottage is on my land." She laughs, all condescension. "It's just a little sliver. What do you even use it for?" I tell her my drainage. My trees, my legal boundary. She waves it off, flashing that grin you see on folks who think money erases property lines. Claims she's got verbal permission from the previous owner. Which is funny, because the only thing that guy's given anyone since 2019 is a plot at the cemetery. I tell her, plain and simple, verbal deals don't mean squat, and she's trespassing. She shrugs. Says she's making the area beautiful, and the Cedar Heights HOA loves the idea. Cedar Heights is 2 miles off, but she talks like she runs the county. I give her 72 hours to tear up the foundation, or we're going to have problems. She smiles that soulless, lawyer-up smile and says, "See you in court, cowboy." Next morning, I'm running on no sleep and old anger, pouring over every plat and survey just to be sure I'm not crazy. I'm not. I print every document, notarize them, shove them in a manila folder, and drive down to the site. Same crew, same machines, but now the smell of wet concrete is thick and bitter. I tell the crew to stop. They just laugh. Lady says it's hers. The bearded guy actually warns me I might get hurt if I stand too close. Right then, Karen rolls up again, all smiles and arrogance. "Why don't you go home and let the professionals finish?" When I refuse, she tells her crew to get me out of there. Suddenly, 3 guys move in. One hits my shoulder, another smacks my ribs, the third swings a laser level at my head. White-hot pain, then everything's spinning. I'm down in the dirt, clutching my paperwork, blood streaming down my face, and all I hear is Karen's voice telling her thugs not to kill me, just teach me a lesson. And that might have been it if some guy with a phone hadn't started filming from the trail. The crew backs off, Karen hisses threats in my ear, and I limp to my truck, pride shattered and arm broken. At the ER, the nurse doesn't even flinch. Out here, land disputes are just part of the scenery. But this isn't just some argument over a fence post. They broke my arm for standing on my own ground. So I call Will Hayes, old friend and now a county sheriff's lieutenant. He shows up with deputies, gets my statement, takes photos of my bloodstained documents. Will doesn't mince words. He's seen every dirty trick in the book. Turns out, Karen never pulled a single permit. Her contractor's working on a suspended license, and Cedar Heights HOA's got their fingerprints all over her plans. Even better, the contractor's been fined before for bulldozing protected land. Within a day, Will's got building control and a survey team ready to hit the site. But this time, we're rolling in heavy. Unmarked trucks, county officials, and SWAT in tactical vests. You want to see real panic? Watch a developer's face when SWAT steps out of a black SUV. Karen tries to bluff, waves glossy development plans, says the land is part of a grand HOA expansion. Some HOA lawyer even shows up waving a portfolio like it's the Magna Carta. Will laughs in his face. What they've got isn't a plat, it's a sales brochure. County GIS proves my line, not theirs. The inspector tags every machine with stop work orders. Karen throws a fit, screams about her rights, calls it harassment. Will tells her to call her lawyer. Then comes the twist, her new defense. Witness, George Patterson, claims he overheard my late uncle giving Karen informal permission. Never mind, my uncle hated HOAs, and the judge gives us 48 hours to respond. Lucky for me, I've got every scrap of paper, emails, and a phone call recording where my uncle says, "No easements, no use allowances. I want this land locked up tighter than a nun's liquor cabinet." But the real kicker? Karen paid George $1,500 for consulting, a check we found with the memo line. Testimony prep. Under deposition, George folds, admits Karen put him up to it. The DA adds witness tampering and fraud to the pile. Karen's contractor flips for a plea deal, admits she did the same thing on other properties, encroached on watershed, utility easements. The works. Cedar Heights HOA scrambles to distance themselves, pulls their lawyer, and quietly drops any talk of Phase 4. Finally, we get to court. The judge doesn't want drama, just facts. He gets aerial overlays, surveyor testimony, hospital reports, and the recording of my uncle. Karen's lawyer tries every trick, claims misunderstanding, community benefit, HOA support. The judge isn't buying, especially not after seeing George's paid testimony. Karen loses, ordered to dismantle the whole build, pay for damages, faces criminal trial for battery and fraud, and is slapped with a restraining order. And you'd think that'd be enough, but people like Karen never admit they're wrong. Even as the county hauls her concrete off my land and her business license gets yanked, she keeps fighting, filing for extensions, blaming everyone but herself. The HOA president resigns, her company gets audited, and 3 employees file wage complaints. I don't throw a party. Justice doesn't need balloons. I fix my fence, plant new trees, and put up a sign. Private property. Not for sale, not negotiable, not yours. A week later, an old couple walking their dog stops to read it. The man grins and says, "Bet there's a story behind that." I just laugh and nod, because honestly, I'm still not sure if the real story's over, or if this is just the calm before someone else does something really dumb. So tell me, would you have stood your ground, or just let the bulldozer roll? Let me know, because out here, the only thing standing between your peace and somebody else's ambition is how hard you're willing to fight for your piece of earth. Yeah, there's a story behind that sign. One I keep telling myself is finished, even though I know better. You think after a court win, after SWAT and county trucks have rolled away, things would go back to normal. But, around here, normal is just what happens in between the next round of crazy. Sometimes you gotta squint to see if the dust's settling or just getting kicked up again. The day after they hauled off Karen's foundation, I found tire tracks by my mailbox, fresh ones. Mud still slick from last night's rain. No note, just the sort of warning that says, "We're watching." A week goes by, and a drone starts buzzing my field every afternoon, sometimes swooping so low I can see the reflection of my battered old pickup in its camera dome. Was it Karen? Was it Cedar Heights? Was it just some bored teenager? Hard to say, but every time it circled, I felt the back of my neck tighten. You'd think I was paranoid, but out here, sometimes paranoia is just good planning. I called Will about the drone. He tells me, legal gray area, Clay. If it lands, call me. Otherwise, keep your camera ready. So I do. I rig up an old GoPro on a broom handle, catch the thing buzzing my tree line, and upload the footage to the county portal. For all the good it did, the drone kept coming, but now it was joined by a steady trickle of unfamiliar SUVs, folks from the development office or survey teams, with glossy business cards and 2 wide smiles. Each one insisting they just wanted to chat about opportunities, potential deals, land value. The way they said opportunities, you'd think they were offering gold, not trying to buy me out at a discount. But see, what really kept me up wasn't them. It was my own neighbors. Folks I'd nodded to at the feed store, shared beers with at the July barbecue, started treating me different. Some were cold, like siding with Karen made them safer. Others were just curious, peppering me with questions about what really happened, if it was true the county was redrawing boundaries, if the HOA would come for them next. Rumors move faster than water out here. Before long, I heard someone say I'd called the feds on a war widow. Someone else claimed I was holding up progress. Yeah, that happened. Guess people always need a villain. One afternoon, I'm fixing fence posts when a battered Chevy rolls up. Out steps Tom Greeley, The kind of guy who wears his belt buckle like a badge of honor. We never talked much, but today he's got a look, half apology, half warning. Clay, you might want to know. HOA's hosting a meeting tonight. Open invite. Word is, Karen's lawyers. Gonna show. He hesitates, spits tobacco into the dust. They say they're reconsidering boundaries for the greater good. You know what that means. I thank him, and after he leaves, I sit on my porch, watching the sun drop behind the ridge, weighing my options. Part of me wants to let it go. I'd already won. But another part, the stubborn, scarred part, knows that giving up now would be like inviting the whole mess to start over. So I clean up, dig out my stack of legal files, and drive down to the community hall. Place is packed. Old-timers, young couples. Even that HOA lawyer in his shiny loafers, acting like he owns the zip code. The meeting starts, all polite at first. The HOA president talks about unity and shared vision. Karen's name comes up, her tragic losses and misunderstandings. Her lawyer stands, smooth as ever, and floats the idea that maybe, just maybe, a compromise could be reached. Maybe I could donate the disputed strip for a community park. Maybe the HOA could grandfather in some easements for the good of all. You know what I mean? The nerve of it nearly makes me laugh. So I stand up, arms still in a sling, and let them have it. Not yelling, just telling the truth the way you do when you've got nothing left to lose. I lay out the facts, how Karen lied, how she tried to steal land, how she paid off witnesses, how the county ruled, how I nearly lost an eye so someone else could boost their property value. I tell them about the sign, about my uncle, about every tree and ditch. I fought to keep mine. And then I say, you want unity? Try respecting a boundary. You want progress? Try following the law. Room goes quiet. The president mutters something about moving forward, but no one meets my eyes. As I turn to leave, Tom gives me a thumbs up, and that's enough for now. Over the next few weeks, things settle. The HOA backs off, maybe scared, maybe just bored. The drone stops coming. Karen's lawyer pulls out, citing irreconcilable differences. Word is, Karen sold her lot at a loss and skipped town, left behind a mess of unpaid bills and lawsuits. Cedar Heights stops sending mailers. The surveyors disappear. I start to breathe easy again. The oaks by my fence line sprout new leaves. One even pushes up a little green shoot from a root-eyed. Thought was dead. I spend evenings out there, cup of coffee or sometimes something stronger, watching the wind push clouds over the ridge. There's scars, sure, roots cut, fence mended. Arm still aches in the rain. But this is my home, and it feels like mine again. But you want the real truth? Out here, these fights never really end. Boundaries shift, neighbors change. Some new developer gets ideas. Next season it might be someone else with dreams bigger than their decency. Still, I'll be ready. I've got paperwork, cameras, and a stubborn streak as old as these hills. They can bring their lawyers, their drones, their fake smiles. I'll be here, coffee in hand, waiting. So if you ever see a sign out here that says, not for sale, not yours, just know it isn't about being unfriendly. It's about knowing what you stand for and daring anyone to cross that line. Now, I gotta ask, if it were your land, your trees, your peace, what would you do? Let me know down in the comments. Out here, that's how we keep the story alive.